The arena pulsed with a kind of violent optimism. Thousands of species, some gelatinous, others crystalline, many winged or tentacled or bioluminescent, pressed into the gravity-balanced tiers of the Jorvax Colosseum. There was no true sky here, just the illusion of one, a shimmering force field reflecting the flicker of orbiting sponsorships and the glittery advertisements of chemical weapons and spa treatments. The banners of the harmony of civilized species flapped lazily, though there was no wind. Only protocol. An announcer's voice echoed in 12 dominant languages, modulating between clicks, snarls, and polite monotone. "Welcome to the grand final of the Spiral Nexus peace trials," it declared, as if the word peace hadn't just been mugged behind the bleachers. "Today's combatants will represent not only their homeworlds, but their species' right to unrestricted fleet passage through the galactic nexus routes for the next fiscal cycle. Let's have a diplomatic round of applause." The crowd roared, which in this case involved screeches, glandular mist emissions, and something from the upper stands that sounded suspiciously like mating calls. Two Vibraxians began a celebratory slapfight involving tiny ceremonial anvils. This was diplomacy post-evolution. Hover cameras swooped low over the field as terrain-shifting pylons burrowed into place. In the center, a wide, circular combat zone made of flexstone and adaptive gravity mesh. On either end, two waiting gates, sealed until the moment of entry. In the Royal Observation Sphere floated a gelatinous ambassador named Grothic Vol, who resembled a melting chandelier filled with annoyed hummingbirds. "Why are we even bothering?" he muttered, voice wet with contempt. "The Tharkson have won 7 straight trials. Their champion was engineered to unmake continents." A nearby human diplomat smiled benignly, palms folded. "True. But we do love a surprise." The Tharkson Empire's side of the arena was alive with stomping. Their supporters, brutish reptilians in warplate, slammed axes against their own chests. The roar was thick with bloodlust and fried protein. Above them, a massive hologram of their champion ignited in blue flame, Thraxer, supreme blade beast of Dominion 3. 12 feet tall, 3 hearts, bones like reinforced titanium. He had defeated the Vitari twins, cracked the iron spine of a Grolic warlord, and turned the ocean of Delhura 7 into steam during a handshake ceremony. The odds against him losing were generously listed as mathematically disrespectful. Meanwhile, the human side of the arena didn't quite roar. There were scattered claps, a few cautious vuvuzelas, and one enthusiastic toddler with a flag that said, "Go Earth." The announcer paused dramatically. "Representing the Terran Accord of Soul, please welcome Ellie Mira Grant." The gates creaked open. No music. No pyrotechnics. Just a single human figure walking across the threshold in battered armor. The suit looked standard-issue military, patched in places with thermal tape and what might have been a stitched-up tea towel. The visor was retracted, exposing a face that looked neither nervous nor heroic, just alert. She walked like someone who already knew where the exits were. From the stands came a chittering chorus of laughter. A Bizwari ambassador spat a wad of photosynthetic mucus onto the floor. "That's the human," he said, scandalized. "They sent a secretary in power armor." "Is she even armed?" asked another. "No weapons registered," said the announcer cheerfully. "Ellie Mira Grant has elected to proceed under traditional human tactical doctrine, unarmed." The crowd howled. In the command booth, a Tharkson general leaned forward. "Is this a joke?" "No," murmured the human diplomat beside him. "It's a demonstration." Ellie reached the center of the arena and stopped. Her eyes swept the crowd. Thousands of species. Tens of thousands of eyes, some literal, others multifaceted or emotion-sensitive. They saw what they expected to see. Soft skin, average stature, no claws, no fangs, no threat. A minor species. Eager to please. Beneath her calm expression, Ellie calculated 17 angles of escape and 8 ways to turn her opponent's mass into a disadvantage. Her pulse slowed instead of quickening. She watched the enemy gate. The floor trembled. With a thunderous hiss, the second gate opened. Out stepped Thraxer. He was larger in person. Armor fused to bone, jaw split down the middle like a scarred guillotine, ceremonial blood still fresh from the morning's honor duel, which had involved vaporizing a rival with one punch. The crowd erupted. A sea of noise. Ellie did not move. Across the arena, Thraxer tilted his head. Then he smiled, a terrifying, tooth-laden gesture meant to signal his intent to leave her in separate pieces. The announcer, barely audible over the storm of applause, added, "And so begins the final match. May diplomacy, honor, and high-resolution violence prevail." From the crowd, a dozen ambassadorial assistants activated insurance subclauses. Others adjusted cloaks or readied condolence speeches. Thraxer raised one massive fist. Ellie adjusted a wristband. The gravity mesh beneath them shimmered, adapting to their mass signatures. Combat was imminent. Somewhere above, an orbital camera zoomed in on Ellie's face. She didn't look like she was about to fight. She looked like she was waiting for someone to catch up. And in that instant, barely perceptible, a flicker passed through the crowd. Not fear. Not yet. Recognition. But it would come. Ellie Mira Grant stood precisely where the math told her to. She wasn't meditating, or praying, or psyching herself up, though that's what the crowd wanted to believe. She was just measuring shadows. Thraxer's shadow, to be specific, stretching long across the shifting terrain of the arena. She watched it the way a surgeon watches blood pressure, quietly, without expression, noting where the pressure shifted. He hadn't moved yet. That was good. Gave her 3 more seconds to catalog the subtle hum beneath the floor, the arena's gravity algorithms struggling to reconcile 2 very different mass profiles. Not her problem. She adjusted her stance by 3 degrees. Up in the commentator's box, a Flarnian analyst was gurgling through a 17-part breakdown of her predicted dismemberment. Thraxer's kinetic capacity exceeds Class 4 seismic thresholds, it burbled enthusiastically. Human bones typically collapse under that kind of, what's the word, obliteration. "Thank you, Flarn," replied the drone-voiced announcer. "So we can expect a short, polite fight followed by sweeping and diplomacy." Laughter rolled through the arena again. Not cruel, exactly, just entertained. Humanity was a well-liked novelty act. Their diplomats brought wine. Their music had soul. They never won anything, but they lost with charm. One species even kept a human as a court poet, though it was unclear whether he knew. Ellie blinked once, slow and unfazed, as Thraxer began his entrance walk. He didn't walk so much as detonate forward. Each step cracked the flexstone tiles beneath him. The plates had been reinforced this morning, double layering, post-incident, but they still groaned. His ceremonial war crest gleamed under the holographic banners, its blood-gold inlay catching the torchlight. The crowd rose in a wave as he raised both clawed arms and bellowed a war cry loud enough to knock 2 glass-faced Avarians from their box seats. Ellie tilted her head slightly, noted the breath pattern, calculated how much oxygen he was burning per roar. He was already at a 5% loss before first contact. When she finally spoke, it wasn't for effect. It was because he was close enough to hear her. "You've got beautiful posture," she said mildly. "Bit too wide in the hips, though. Not great for lateral correction." Thraxer blinked, then laughed, a sound like boulders mating. "Little primate speaks before she dies." "Charming." She gave a polite nod. "Diplomatic training." He snorted and rolled his massive shoulders. "I am Thraxer, Blade Beast of Dominion 3, the Gorefather of the Arena Worlds, last of the Unchained line." Ellie looked up at him. "Ellie Mira Grant. Earth." She squinted. "Do you want my resume? I was a substitute physics teacher for a while. Good with kids." Another ripple of amusement from the stands. A Florborian noble actually wiped a tear from one of its 6 eyes. Thraxer snarled, annoyed now. "You are not warrior caste. I see no blood honor on you. No breath of conquest." "Flattering," Ellie murmured, brushing dust from one boot. "But you're misreading. I just don't wear trophies." In the human section, one diplomat leaned forward. "Is she taunting him?" he whispered. "No," said the ambassador beside him, grimly. "She's calibrating." A slow hush crept through the arena as both fighters reached the center mark. Protocol kicked in. A glowing sigil appeared underfoot, representing the ancient harmony clause of the Interstellar Combat Mandate. Both species had signed it. It meant no outside interference, no orbital support, and no takebacks. The Tharkson champion raised his axe, an ornate hybrid weapon made of organic alloy, its surface humming with reactive tech that bonded to its wielder's nervous system. It had a name longer than most careers and had once been banned for slicing a dual planet in half. Now it shimmered with anticipation, mirroring Thraxer's pulse. Ellie had gloves. Light carbon weave, matte black. A gift from an engineer who thought she might like extra grip. She flexed her fingers once and let them hang loosely at her sides. "Where is your blade?" Thraxer sneered. "Your claws? Your glorious ancestors." "I sent them all home," she said, deadpan. "Didn't want them seeing what happens next." The countdown appeared in midair. 10 glowing glyphs. 9. The crowd began to chant in fractured, multilingual unison. 8. Ellie adjusted her foot positioning, half step back, knee flexed, center aligned. 7. Thraxer inhaled deeply, swelling like a furnace, heat shimmer rising off his plated hide. 6. 5. 4. The arena lights dimmed. 3. A hush. 2. Ellie exhaled once. 1. Silence. Thraxer didn't charge. Not yet. He was smart, in the way apex predators can be. Don't rush, intimidate first. He began to circle, wide and slow, each step deliberate. His muscles coiled, fluid and precise, like a predator stalking uncertain prey. Ellie didn't move. Not an inch. Her eyes followed him without turning her head. Inside her helmet, biometric readouts blinked in green. Everything normal. Heart rate, calm. Oxygen intake, optimal. Neural lag, negligible. Estimated survival odds, 2.6%. Margin of victory, classified. Her internal monologue was less technical. He's strong. Strong's easy. Strong has a rhythm. Strong telegraphs. Thraxer shifted left, then darted right, testing her reflexes. He found none. She just kept watching. Like she wasn't in a death match. Like she was watching waves. He lunged. It wasn't real. Not yet. Just a feint. But fast. Faster than any human should be able to counter. She twitched her hand slightly. A subtle forward lean. That was all. Thraxer stopped short, confused. He didn't like that. The crowd didn't either. They wanted movement. Blood. He roared again. Louder. Ellie took one slow step forward. "Stop talking," she said softly. "And start fighting." The voice wasn't loud. It wasn't angry. But something in it changed the temperature of the air. A pressure drop. Subtle but unmistakable. Half the crowd didn't notice. The other half started to. And Thraxer noticed most of all. The arena shifted. Not in any metaphorical sense. Its floor literally groaned as the combat protocols initialized. Segmented tiles folded and snapped into new formations. Jagged inclines, frictionless glass planes, rotating spires of obsidian-like stone that hissed and vented heat from their cores. A section of the arena dropped away entirely, replaced by a gravity inversion well designed by a committee that had never once asked, why? Ellie watched it unfold with detached curiosity. The terrain was randomized, supposedly to level the playing field. In practice, it favored bulk. Things like momentum, crush force, inertia advantage. A Tharkson playground. Somewhere in the upper boxes, a Lorculian dignitary clicked their mandibles in anticipation. Ah, the pit opens. This will be swift. Hover cameras adjusted, focusing on Thraxer's side. The champion stood like a fortress, unbothered by the heat plume rising near his right flank. The scent of scorched lubricant curled upward from the shifting terrain, mixing with the tang of activated plasma paint. He raised his axe, slowly, ceremonially, and struck it once against his own chest plate. The impact echoed like thunder down a steel canyon. The crowd responded with the kind of roar normally reserved for planetary evacuations. "Begin," said the announcer, and the entire arena held its breath. Thraxer exploded into motion. The first lunge was pure violence. No pretense of a feint this time. 12 feet of accelerated mass charging across terrain that cracked beneath his feet. Ellie stepped once, weightlessly, pivoting just as the blade came down. It missed. Not by much, but enough that the shockwave sheared the edge of a nearby incline instead of her skull. She moved again, sideways this time, using the downward slant to slide with perfect friction control. The gloves helped. Not with defense, but with manipulation. She caught a loose shard of flexstone on her way down and launched it upward in a tight spiral. Thraxer's eye caught the motion instinctively. He swatted it mid-air, and in that moment of reflex, she disappeared behind a rising column of plasma-vented basalt. Her internal monologue was crisp. He's fast. Fast is fine. Fast keeps moving. Fast gets tired. Thraxer followed, predictably, leaping onto the column with a snarl, not realizing it was still venting from its lower seams. The heat surged upward. His foot slipped half a beat, his center shifted, and Ellie stepped into open space with no platform beneath her. She dropped. And then she twisted. Her body flipped mid-air, catching the gravity distortion edge just right. The inversion zone caught her motion and slingshot her around its curve, 30 feet sideways in under a second. The crowd gasped. A few species had to adjust their vocal cords to accommodate. Thraxer turned just in time to see her rise from a crouch across the arena, dust curling around her boots. "She's fast," he muttered. "Annoying." He came again. Slower this time. Measured. He'd decided to think. A mistake, possibly fatal. Ellie let him close the gap. She counted his steps. Watched the microtensions in his thigh armor, the way his arms retracted just a little late when he reset his posture. His right shoulder had a half-second delay. Old battle injury or neural lag. Didn't matter. She let the axe come within inches before she pivoted again. Too close this time, forcing herself into a slide directly under the swing arc. The blade kissed her left pauldron and peeled away paint, but that was all. As she passed beneath him, her right fist snapped upward. Not a punch. Just a flick. 2 fingers, reinforced, catching the underside of his left kneecap at the exact point of flex. Thraxer stumbled. Just one step. The crowd didn't even register it yet. Ellie rose behind him, fast and silent. She didn't press the advantage. She moved off the axis, forcing him to rotate, adjust. 100 calculations pulsed in her skull, neural dampeners keeping her reflex loop clean. He's slowing. Breathing harder. Adrenaline spike. But he's still got force. I need overcommitment. Give him pride. She straightened, slowly, and looked directly at him. "Still warming up?" she asked, voice mild. Thraxer bellowed in fury. His chest heaved. Steam curled from the axe as it flared into overdrive. He charged. Ellie didn't move. Not until the last moment. And then, she stepped forward. It was absurd. Against all instinct. She entered his swing path. Thraxer, confused mid-attack, adjusted his arc slightly. He meant to cleave downward, but her presence broke the rhythm. The blade came in crooked. Ellie ducked, spun. Her leg hooked around his heel and planted firmly. Then came the pivot. Her torso rotated in perfect counterbalance to his bulk. It didn't look like much. Just a subtle torque, a shift of weight and tension through her spine. But it was timed with the gravity well, positioned exactly between 2 pull points in the mesh. Thraxer's knee hyperextended. The sound was not pleasant. The crowd went silent. Thraxer fell, howling, not out of pain, but fury. The axe hit the ground with a metallic scream. Ellie stepped back, breath even. She didn't attack. Didn't follow up. She let him rise. Because the point wasn't to win quickly. It was to be seen. Every ambassador. Every commander. Every betting analyst with a notepad full of biological prejudices, They needed to watch her dismantle a myth. Thraxer rose slower this time. Blood leaked from a joint near his calf. He snarled, "I will break you." Ellie looked at him, almost kindly. "You already tried." This time, she attacked first. One step in. Duck under the swing. Palm to elbow joint. Redirect. Shoulder into his chest plate. Destabilize. She used the moment of imbalance to twist his own body around. The axe came with it, uncontrolled. It embedded into the flexstone floor. Ellie moved to his flank. One strike. An open-hand blow to the base of the skull where the armor thinned. A nerve bundle. Thraxer went still, and then collapsed. Not dead, but very, very unconscious. The arena didn't explode. Not at first. It inhaled. A breath of disbelief. And then, pandemonium. Ellie stood in the center, quiet, unmoved. The cameras zoomed in. Her face was calm. No gloat. No grin. She just raised one hand and adjusted her glove. Diplomacy complete. No one moved. For a full 6 seconds, the entire arena, creature, drone, and dignitary alike, froze in suspended disbelief. Even the automated drink dispensers paused mid-pour, as if uncertain whether a glitch had occurred in the reality feed. Thraxer, Warforged champion of the Tharkson Empire, destroyer of warlords, blade beast of Dominion 3, lay motionless in a shallow crater. His axe, still embedded in the fractured floor, steamed uselessly beside him. Ellie Mira Grant stood over him, a foot's length away, hands relaxed at her sides. Not triumphant. Not boastful. Just still. From the box seats, Ambassador Grothicvol began a high-pitched, wet clicking sound. At first, it resembled choking. Then someone realized he was laughing. "She did it," the ambassador burbled in a tone of wet reverence. "She beat him with manners and physics." The announcer's voice crackled into the awkward silence. Official confirmation pending, but yes, the Tharkson champion is down. Rendered unconscious via non-lethal application of, hold on, open-hand tactical manipulation. Ellie turned toward the hovering camera drone as it zoomed in for a reaction shot. She blinked slowly, face unreadable. The drone offered a trembling zoom. She raised an eyebrow. It backed off. In the Harmony Council observation deck, emergency diplomatic channels lit up like a firestorm. Reclassify humanity. Immediately. We underestimated terrestrial neurotactics again. This is Kuro Protocol all over again. Do they all fight like this? No, a human ambassador murmured, sipping from a steaming mug of tea. Some are worse. A Florborian noble slithered up beside him, visibly sweating through 6 different color glands. She's not a formal warrior, correct? Just a representative. The ambassador nodded. Technically, yes. She teaches at an academy. Teaches math. The word hit the council floor like a dropped blade. Get the Earth files re-reviewed. Right now. In the arena, the Tharkson medics, 3 of them built like small freighters, rushed the field, but none dared touch Ellie as they approached. She stepped aside only after nodding once, subtly, as if giving permission. She walked slowly, deliberately, across the ruined terrain. Not a single word spoken. A shell of dust drifted behind her boots, catching the low lights as the arena reconfigured itself back to neutral mode. Somewhere above, on the Jumbotron halo ring, her face flickered in real time across 200,000 screens. The commentary feed had gone quiet. The betting odds collapsed in a wave of algorithmic panic. At the bottom of the screen, a new subtitle appeared, auto-generated by the arena AI, which had decided without instruction to flag her combat designation. E.M. Grant. Species. Homo sapiens. Status. Non-military. Threat level. Pending revision. The crowd finally broke. Not into cheers. Not yet. There was no script for what they'd just witnessed. Applause felt like a misfire. Whispers filled the stands. Jaws, literal and metaphorical, remained slack. Some diplomats blinked in a kind of silent horror. Others recalculated their vote margins. At least one betting cartel imploded. Ellie reached the edge of the arena and paused at the exit gate. The gate didn't open at first. She waited. After a moment, a voice, distorted by a faulty speaker, crackled through. Protocol requests you submit for post-match interview. No. A pause. Reason. I don't like microphones. The gate hissed open. She walked through. Behind her, the galactic order shifted. By the time she reached the corridor, 2 different security teams had arrived to escort her. Neither approached. One stared at her feet. The other looked anywhere but her eyes. She passed them silently. In a diplomatic suite 2 decks above, the Harmony Council entered full emergency session. The topic: Human Combat Doctrine. Subtopic: Was Earth bluffing the entire time? Senator Crix of the Mirthak Coalition stood shakily. She didn't even break his spine. She used his momentum. She folded him like a festival tent. It was poetry, someone muttered. Terrifying poetry. Do we escalate? Asked another. The human ambassador stood slowly, sipping his tea again, because that's what he did when about to ruin a meeting. I wouldn't, he said. That was diplomacy. A heavy silence settled over the room. Then, a single word from the back. Gods help us, what's war look like? Hours later, the final transmission from the arena was broadcast to every registered diplomatic terminal. A still image. No sound. Ellie Mira Grant, standing alone in a ruined battlefield, hair slightly windblown, one gloved hand adjusting a strap on her shoulder. In the background, a collapsed Titan. The caption beneath it read, "She came in peace." Until she didn't. It became the most viewed image in the quadrant within 6 minutes. Back on Earth, no parades awaited her. She returned quietly, as she always had, to a small academy beneath a modest dome on a pale blue dot that the galaxy had mistaken for harmless. Her students asked if she'd gone anywhere interesting. She nodded once. Someplace warm. Bit noisy. They asked if she'd learned anything. She smiled slightly. Yes. The stars are very polite, until you make them afraid. No one knew what that meant at the time. But in the months that followed, trade terms with Earth improved. Border patrols gave human ships a wider berth. And for the first time in galactic history, a delegation from the Tharkson Empire sent Earth a gift. Not a weapon. A chair. To be placed at the head of the next Council Summit. No one said the word surrender. But they didn't say challenge either. Because that was the day the galaxy remembered. Apex predators don't roar. They negotiate. Until they don't.